Good evening, everyone. First basic thing is about syllabus. You should know about the syllabus. Details we have not written to save our time. You should know the details of the syllabus. That ethics, human interface, it has essence, determinants, and consequence of ethics in human interface. It has ethics in public and private relation. It has human values and leadership, etc. Similarly, attitude has its own details. Aptitude has also its own details. Emotional intelligence, so details you should know about the syllabus. You should know the syllabus simply because when there is day-to-day development, so you can relate it. So, are you able to relate day-to-day developments related to ethics? So far, generally, we have the habit of relating it to other such topics of current developments. Largely, you are habituated to relate to the paper 2nd, paper 3, and you read also newspaper from that perspective. So, do you read newspaper from ethical perspective? That is called everyday ethics. So, the same newspaper can be the source of everyday ethics, which you generally try to gather some facts, some examples, right, on the eve of examination or after prelims. No, so you try to find out some examples, some facts, etc., etc. And that time you do not get those facts and examples. Even if you get those facts and examples, it will not be percolated in you, and you will not be able to write examples at the right place. Rather, the example will become artificial, and it is ethics paper, and ethics is about not being artificial. So, that is how, let's say that the first thing, a clear gap is noticed in your answer, that you are writing example something else, question is something else. So, this you need to learn from day-to-day basis. So, you should know the syllabus first thing. And second thing is that you make a separate copy, and in that separate copy you write all the 7 topics after certain intervals, and means after leaving some passage. And when you read from newspapers, so you get the similar type of examples and facts and development. Simply you can have some cut and paste, and you can have your notes. You will find after 6 months that you have a good source of ethics. For instance, there is a topic called fund utilization. So, utilization of fund. So, that topic, let's say, recently one IAS officer was transferred as she was forced to utilize the fund in certain favor, and she refused to comply with. So, you know that development? So, you do not know that development. It happened in Karnataka. And she is the same officer who was transferred before election in Karnataka, and that transfer was quashed by the High Court, and she was reinstated at the same post, same place. Anyhow, just imagine, this year they have asked the question on fund utilization. When you write an answer on fund utilization, the most important aspect of that answer is concept, whether you know what is fund utilization from ethical perspective. So any answer in ethics paper consists of concept plus application. So concept plus application, this is how any answer. Even if you know what is fund utilization, but you fail to write a good example, do you know what will happen? You will not be able to substantiate. And this is a serious problem in ethics paper. Because in other 3 papers, you don't have to always substantiate. This. Like, what are the grounds of disqualification of members of parliament? So you don't have to substantiate. If you know Lakshmikant, you can simply write it. If you do not know, so you think and write, isn't it? So the question is, there is nothing to substantiate. Right? If you know, you write, you have to enumerate simply those points. Right? But you cannot have a question here which you can write in terms of enumeration, because it is not quantitative, it is qualitative. So this, you should know the basics, this, and this way, let's say, this is your right time to do these things because you are relaxed. A bit relaxed, isn't it? So it is the relaxed time basically. A large time, neither war nor peace. So basically once you approach Feb, so then let's say that large time is finished. Lull time is finished also. Now you have to go for war. Means prelims tension increases. Therefore you cannot put the same level of attention to anything you want to improve. So after mains, 2-3 months are considered the best time for improvement. And that is how you should do it. Even if you do not do after Feb, still you have good chunk of example. And you can utilize after prelims. Even if after prelims you do not know, the 3 months of this resource can be adequate enough, because you can have the examples related to almost all subtopics also. Like when you write a question on emotional intelligence, do you have a right example on emotional intelligence? If you do not have a right example on emotional intelligence, then you will not be able to justify your answer. Although no doubt we will tell ourselves those examples in every topic. But again, you have to also apply some efforts, although you can depend on notes whatever will teach. So this is first thing about this paper. Now, basically if you go classification, if you go after this, if you go for the classification of topics, so if we classify them, So basically, this is called core ethics. This is called core ethics, or it is called normative ethics. Which we say as theory basically. So this is based on normative ethics, which is largely derived from source called philosophy. These three things basically we take from human psychology. So you have to understand human psychology. Right. Human psychology, why you have to understand human psychology? Because to know human is a complex being. Right. So you have to know why human is a complex being. Because why human does not adhere by ethics. So whether human does not want to adhere by ethics, or human wants but human is not getting environment. So human psychology, this is how you have to understand. This is derived from, let's what we say as public administration. This is again from this philosophy. Moral philosophy. So basically you get these things from human psychology, public administration, moral philosophy, but why we should know it? Basically, let's say that okay, these things are nothing but, right, they will talk about again concept plus application. Means basically we deal with applied ethics. This paper deals with applied ethics. If you read this year paper, I guess you may have read this year paper. No, have you read this year paper? So I know some, let's say, faces. So how many people, I guess, appeared in men's? Anyone who has appeared in men's? No anyone. Are you ethical? I guess you have appeared. Some of you necessarily have appeared in men's. Not appeared. So, have you appeared in prelims? That also not. Right. Anyhow, so you have not read this year paper. Yes, rather you should come reading this year paper and syllabus. This, otherwise you will again not understand. This year paper is more applied than theoretical. This year paper has not asked questions from this section except one, Socrates question. So otherwise there used to be some core concept based questions. So today the leaning of the paper has gone to more application part. And when we deal with applied ethics, we deal with applied ethics in the context of administration and civil services. So most of the questions leaning will be that, right? Leaning will be that towards that aspect, if you read, right? So this you have to understand. Even if we know the concept, but application. Therefore, we don't have to be literal sense, either philosophical or public administration or psychological aspect, etc. Because attitude we have to understand from psychology, then we have to apply in the context of society and administration. This. So we have to apply in the context of society and administration. This and let me show the paper if we have, I guess. It's second paper. Anyway. So we have to apply in the context of this. So if you take syllabus sectoral classification, so we should not have any such kind of perspective that it is either philosophy oriented or public administration oriented. This you should know. It is applied ethics, and ethics has its own orientation. It's another matter that those who have political science and public administration, they have added advantage. So they have advantage because they know already what is administration. They know already many things of ethics, especially these two things they know much better than you in much details. So you will try to know only about probity, what is, but they know about, let's say that in much details about all these things, but that does not mean that you cannot secure it. It is not, let's say that necessary. In fact, largely highest marks have been brought by the non-public administration wala. Right. Be it this year basically 34th rank. She secured, I guess, 31 or 34th rank. She got 130 around, right. And that is highest. Before that, the same, let's say that we had, that is also highest. So if you see last 4 or 5 years, those who are securing highest, so they do not have public administration. That is how the advantage to you. Right. Although yes, in general they can have average better, but that's not the point to explain. Now, if you take about sources of this, how to read, what not to read. Sources. So we have given also 2 printed notes, plus you will get some other notes. Right. If you take any other, let's say that, we will tell that first will be that class. Class handwritten notes. It will be adequate enough since you are doing class. So as far as concept is concerned, as far as application is concerned, examples are concerned. So if questions are linked to that topic, it is adequate. If question goes outside that, it can help, it is not adequate. So far we have the experience of getting asked questions from the notes, and most of the questions. This is how. And it is not, I should not appreciate. Right, you can test yourself, you can know yourself. But when we take Socrates' question, we begin with, in the second, third class, we tell it. We have been telling it. In fact, when papers have been asked this year, so the voice in my mind came was, tests will not benefit. Tests will not benefit, I mean test series will not benefit unless you have studied them. Right. Why? Because a test series has a particular orientation. If this year suppose we have the test program, so we will try to ensure that whatever we had last year, so we do not repeat the questions. So since you don't have to repeat the questions, so you'll ask new questions. But that does not mean that old questions are not relevant. So those who will write tests, they will be tested on whatever we are asking. Right. But even questions can be asked from the old aspect. Right. And therefore you join one test program or 2 test program, basically you write and you perform better, so you think, yes, I am doing better. But when in the questions, they change the questions, let's say, because they can further change. There is a variety of things they can ask. A test program is not adequate enough to ask adequate number of questions from different topics. It is not adequately testing you. Although I am not telling what you can say, burai means I am not, let's say that telling something bad about test program, we have also test program. Right. Others have also test programs, so it's something like that. But the question is that the loophole is that you will not understand, you will not get it. Because taste has a particular orientation. But if you have read in your different subjects notes, or let's say in your preparation, so that, let's say, that addresses the challenges of examination. Like say this year, suppose last year we asked basic structure doctrine, suppose this year we may not repeat it. And nobody can ask about Attorney General question, isn't it? Because it is very open and clear. Right. Similarly in ethics paper, so we were having a different orientation, I will tell. Our flaw I will tell myself. Right. In our test program, we had a different orientation of test. We thought they will ask some global ethics, so we asked a question on global ethics. We thought they will ask something related to Mahatma Gandhi on sanitation, etc. 150 years, they asked something else on Mahatma. Because on Mahatma Gandhi, you can ask only one statement in a paper. Although we repeated in all the, let's say, 4 tests, 3 tests, one statement on Mahatma Gandhi compulsorily. Still they will ask a third statement. So that is, it means that you should know Mahatma Gandhi rather than the statement. If you know Mahatma Gandhi in details, especially his philosophy, any statement is asked, you are prepared to answer. Right. Rather than you know one statement and you can answer better. Right. So that is how you should know for other papers also. It's not necessarily with this paper. And that is how you know that this preparation, since it is taught comprehensively, dictated very comprehensively, so largely you should rely on this aspect, and it is adequate enough when we talk about retention. So retention, reproduction, etc. if you talk, so it is adequate enough. Still we believe in also empowering empowerment, right? So since you have time also, you can read other sources that we have given printed notes. This then will give you one PDF document, values in administration, DOPT manual. It is a DOPT manual. We give generally 75 pages. It is available online free, you can download, which has 300 pages almost, if you want to read. But we think 75 pages are relevant, so you should go through that, since it's a government document. So DOPT has prepared a manual, then there will be, let's say that, ethics in governance. It is the 4th report. Now you should download yourself this, right? Although we give brief one, but you download it. Get printed, whatever online you are habituated, get downloaded. And now one day I will tell that how many pages you need to read. Why? Because this year paper has made it very relevant. 2019 paper. Because 2019 paper is highly applied. And this is a document on application part. So if anyone had read also this one, he could have benefited. So otherwise we were not considering it as important, because largely they were relying on core philosophy. So this ethics in governance we can take. Then let's say that still you dil hai ki manta nahi. Means, let's say, still you don't feel satisfied. Right. Still you want some books. No. So you can have anything for reference. You can have anything for reference so that you can feel satisfied. Right. So you can take lexicon. No. So you feel satisfied, I have at least lexicon. Right. So एनी बुक यू टेक, बीट लेक्सिकन, उन्होंने और कॉम्प्लेक्स बना दिया है उसको, पहले सिंपल था, ठीक था, they have made it more complex. So right, they wanted to make it more relevant, but it has become more right, more complex. So you can take that complex one. Any book you buy, it is same. Right. It is same, simply its orientation is different. Its content is same. All are compilers. So basically they have compiled from some sources we know. Right. The source of compilation is same. Source of compilation is few lines they will write from there. Source of compilation is few lines from there. Source of compilation is IGNOU ethics notes. Right. And some Western thinkers books. So source since remains same, that's why they will be largely, if you read this, you don't have to do it, but if you compare, so content is same. So you should not worry that whether I have which book, that book, etc. Any one book you have, so that you can refer it and you can feel satisfied. Yes, I have this book also. If you really want to study any textbook, so you should read this one. Values in Civil Services. R.K. Arora. Which you have to buy online. Market wala does not give. Because it is a thick book. It is less in demand. Right. But it is helpful in paper second also. If you want to enhance your understanding on governance part, right, governance, administration, RTI, Citizen Charter, Lokpal, Lokayukta, philosophical aspect, Indian philosophy. So this book is the best book, written in original form. It is not a compilation because generally he is not a compiler. So he wrote this book after introduction of ethics paper, for this paper. Since it is a thick book, so it is less popular. Many people do not know. But we refer it because suppose you want to read some textbooks, let's say. So this you can take and it is very interesting, right, given. So you will understand it, which will help in paper second as well. Because some topics are common in paper second and paper 4. Especially when you have to governance orientation. These two, let's say that governance orientations, it's same. So these are, let's say, resource when you can take, consult, etc. Right. Then essentials. What exactly is the essential in this paper? If you talk, what is essence we say? Essence or essential to secure 115 plus or 115. How we can secure it? Many people have done it, not one, two, many people have done it. So this requires first, right, clarity. Right. Clarity means, let's write, high level of clarity. In concepts. That is, we see conceptual clarity. What does it mean, conceptual clarity? And third, ability to apply concept. So ability to apply concepts, relate concepts. So ability to apply, relate, illustrate, elucidate. Do you have this ability to apply, illustrate, elucidate, explain as clearly. So this ability will make you simple. When it is asked, relevant difference between ethics and morality. So today you may not be able to answer, suppose, but after some time you will be able to answer it. But everyone knows what is difference between morality and ethics. But when they will write their answers, so the clarity level will differ. Right. How clearly you articulate morality, how clearly you articulate ethics, how you relate by clear examples. Right. So this clarity if you have, this ability you get, so it is very less challenging to secure 115 people consistently secure, not 1 year, second, third, fourth. You'll find some people consistently secure like as long as they appear. And it is less hard working. It demands, if you take the 4 papers, in 4 papers, you have to apply less level of energy mind in this paper. Right. Can we say this? Right. It is less because you know about paper 1, 2, 3 level of, there are only 7 topics. But only 7 topics you can only have in history. So if you take the vastness of the first 3 papers and ethics papers, it is very confined. Confined in the sense that after some time there will be repetition almost. So there will be repetition after certain level. So it is not having so much variety. Means there is no variety of concept, varieties of theories. We have to know limited one. And similarly, let's say limited number of concepts. You have to simply understand attitude, aptitude, emotional intelligence, probability and governance. This is how many? 4 or 5 you have that chapter. You can have, let's say, 20 more such terms. So this you have to master, and if you are able to master it, you are able to secure because questions will be also predictable. So questions are predictable. Probability in governance is a predictable question and it is a repeat question. But first time they ask probability in governance very clearly, what do you understand by probability in governance? And fund utilization was expected question, first time they asked. Still there are some topics which they have not asked, so we will say that tomorrow they will ask. So this is how, let's say that it is quite achievable if you talk in terms of essentiality, that what needed in this paper, but how to achieve that conceptual clarity, etc. That's why you have come, we are here to guide, etc. Plus you can apply your own mind. So this conceptual clarity, etc. Already you have ethical orientation. Already you have ethical orientation. You have grown up like this. Whatever the stage today you are, you have grown up. You have been always taught what to do, what not to do. You have been always taught, right, this is good, this is bad. Already you have learned certain ethical aspect. Already you have ethics in you. The only thing is that these things will give you a conceptual orientation to that. And you can link whatever you have grown up and you have learned to a conceptual orientation. Right. And if there is lack of that spirit thinking, so that is how it will not come by practice. So this paper is challenging from this perspective that there should be ethics in spirit, not only in letter. Right. So if a person is lacking in terms of spirit, if a person is trying to achieve कि चलो paper है, it is just for the sake of ethics paper I have to learn ethics, so depth of answer will not come. Depth of answer will come from your involvement. Involvement with the question. Right. This, and that is how their level of clarity will differ. Right. Because depth of involvement, how much you have. Right. With each and every topic or question asked. Right. So that is how it will differ. So it is not just because ki whatever you have read in 1 month and 2 months or whatever you have read in 1 year about ethics, it's also about overall your brought up, overall your mindset, overall your attitude towards any such object in the society, how you look to solve any issue in the society from an ethical perspective. Right. Ethical perspective is nothing but what is the right solution for that. So what is the right solution for that? What is the right, let's say that way to solve that, right approach to solve that? What should be the right approach by people to solve that? It is always about that. This is how. So whether you are a person with two things, inquisitiveness and reasoning, logic, critical thinking. So whether on day-to-day basis, are you doing critical thinking? Right. Why? Origin, before I go, if you talk origin, in first class itself you can, origin of ethics is there from, and he say ethics is about critical thinking. And it was in this backdrop he told that life is not this. So life is not worth living without critical thinking. That is called art of questioning. So when things are happening, whether your mind so far has been thinking, logicking, right, reasoning, accepting, rejecting, are you a thinking person? Have you been a thinking person? Right. It means have you developed your own moral autonomy? Right. Do you have your own called moral autonomy? Or you form your view on the basis of hearsay, what others say. So if you have your own moral autonomy to logic something, you have ethics in you. And then you can logic something. If there is a lack of this moral autonomy, simply you believe what is written in newspaper, what is told through, let's say, TV channels, what is told by some other people, what is told by a report, and you do not logic it. So there is a lack of that critical thinking. And if you logic it, so there is critical thinking. The ethics is more about logical thinking, critical thinking, less about solving a problem and taking a right decision. It is more about critical thinking. Right. So when you will write your answers, so do you have an answer critical thinking or it is a ready-made answer? No, it will be known by answer writing. So when you write an answer, we are writing a ready-made answer, this is how we are habituated to, it will be easily noticed. Right. And if you do not have, because you have been taught something, you try to write that way, so you have to understand this one, that you don't have to be that artificial. You have to have this ability, your own articulation, to do it, follow it, write it. And even if you do not write, a good solution in the question case study, but you have good critical thinking, you will get more marks. The question is not to provide a solution. Question is trying to see your approach to solve that issue and problem. Right. So what is your approach to solve that? Right. This. So this will be, let's say. So let's say that we ask a question A case study we ask, although it is related to ethics, also means ethical thinking also, that suppose you are a civil service aspirant and main examination is 1 month near. Therefore, and you come to know that your father, you have economically also nominal background, your father is a retired person and he, let's say, struggle to send money to you. And therefore what he did is that he forged the documents and he became a benefit of a government scheme in a wrong way. And other people have also done that. Once you come to know it, then what you will say to your father? If he shares that now economic problem will be solved, as I have become a beneficiary of a government program, by this means other people are also doing that. Right? So what you will say that? What you will say to your father? You will not say anything. In actual practice, so what you will say to your father? End is also important. Means to achieve. Any other? Any other logic? No any logic. So you can do a job. Yes. Next logic. You tell the next logic. Any other person? Any other person? No idea. I'm trying to find something. Not able to get. Where are the papers? What is the best logic to tell to father?
Ask the father, like, you may tell him that if it is unethical to like avail that scheme, which he shouldn't be, like, if is it in such a position that without the scheme he might not survive, or he may like run into such a poorish condition, so we may ask him to withdraw.
Yes. Any other logic? No any logic.
Say that since he is struggling, he has suffered for the scheme. Once he feels that, once we feel that he is out of the struggle, we can ask him to withdraw that.
Right. So as long as we are struggling, it is good. No, once we are out of this, so we should not. Yes. Any other? Somehow file I am not able to get. There were files anyhow. See, logic matters. You are not able to give right logic. Right. That's why we told that power of conceptual clarity. Right. So we or you are not able to give that what is right logic. And the logic should be, try to understand. He is trying to take taxpayers' money. Taxpayers' money. And taxpayers' money we apply also for welfare of people. If he is taking taxpayers' money in a wrongful way, then he is affecting the opportunity of some other vulnerable section of the society. Right. Which he does not realize. Second, since other people are doing, you also do, so it is mobocracy. It is not ethics. Right. Third, in economic hardship, the real test of conduct is, let's say that, no test. The real test of your conduct comes in hardship, not in good times. Right. Fourth, you want to become a civil servant. For what you want to become a civil servant? To enforce law of the government. And your father has himself violated that law. So tomorrow you have to pursue case against him. Right. Or any administrator in that district will have to pursue a case against him. Right. This. Next, an unlawful means taking help, right, to become, no matter what is the hardship, right. Becoming an IAS is not an end in itself. That you go on sacrificing all the values, right. This IAS is a merely means of your life. It is not end in itself. Becoming IAS is not so lofty that one should compromise values. Right. Because IAS itself is known for certain sanctity of values, some sanctity. You have to adhere by certain standards of civil services, and you cannot become a civil servant on the basis of adhering to these practices, even if you have the economic hardship. Right. And that's why you have to tell them it is wrong. You don't send me money, but you don't indulge in such practice. Right. This, even if I do not become IAS, but at least I want to remain a good human. Being a good human is better than becoming an IAS. This you should know. Why? Selflessness is core of ethical conduct. Now, here you are trying to become self-interested or selfish. Since your career is at stake. If it happens and every person goes and justify the hardship and then breach the law, where we end? Then everything can be justified. Right. Then there is no sanctity of values in society. Right. Values are destroyed by this way. He thinks that he is doing a very small thing. What is a small thing? Since other people are also doing, I have also done. What wrong I have done? And it does not make any difference. Because it is a very small thing, but it makes a huge difference. Because you add one more aspect in destruction of values in society, rather than you deduct one more in destruction of values of society. Right. And that is how the logic you have to give, that even if I don't become IAS, but let me be a good human. This, and that's why you should not do this act. And that logic you have to give. Otherwise, tomorrow you cannot enforce law, even if you become a civil servant, because for what you will enforce law? Others are violating law. They are also violating because of they have also certain their causes. So for what you will enforce? So this sanctity is lost. Right. And that is how you should not tell in this way. So that is how, let's say that. It depends what logic you give. Right. Some people will not exactly strike on that what is wrong by his conduct. Rather, instead of talking on that, they will start talking on what I will do. His wrongness of conduct you do not address. Rather, you address the substitute, no, I will do a job. Right. I will borrow some money. After 1 month, I will try for a job. But his wrongness of conduct remains. Right. So this is called, let's say, critical thinking, even if you like or not. Because ethics does not depend on your likes and dislikes, my likes and dislikes. Ethics has its own standards. Right. So we'll keep saying henceforth, either you, when you say ethical, to adhere, then adhere to the standards of ethics. Otherwise, don't tell ethical. You tell something else. Right. But you cannot tell ethical without adhering to the standards of ethics. Right. Because ethics has a very harsh standards. Right. It is neither real nor theoretical nor practical. It is simply ethical. Right. So ethics is not ideal, because Mahatma Gandhi has shown by my experiment with truth that it is not ideal. I can practice it. Right. And I will practice and then preach it. So you cannot say, ethics is very ideal. Since you cannot practice, that's why you say it is ideal. So anything we do not practice, we say it is ideal. But it is not. So these misconceptions you should not have. Then what exactly ethical is? Ethics is, this is how we'll start with. So let's talk about this. So understanding ethics, we start generally. Ethics. So basically we will understand that what is ethics. In this, basically we deal with defining ethics, then ethics and morality, values, religion, laws, social norms, social morality, norms, values, laws, religion, yes. Ethics. So these things we'll try to deal when we'll try to understand what is ethics. before this, I will repeat, I guess you have written. Let's that ki any person, I'm not good at that, but anyhow, conduct. He has X conduct. So any person who conducts means he behaves. Any such behavior, conduct or behavior. So this behavior, when this X behavior you can say as good. Generally we have habit of saying no, or we can say it as bad. Anything that is good we say as right, anything bad we say as wrong, anything good we say as acceptable, anything bad is called as rejectable. This is how we say. Right. Now, both things we say on what basis? What is the basis of saying this? You have some basis. So basis can be that's your own understanding. It is on the basis of your own understanding. It is on the basis of your own values. Right, this, or it can be on the basis of law. It can be basis of social norms. It can be on the basis of religion. This, it means what is right can have different standards. Right. What do we say? What is right or wrong? There can be different. Let's say them as standards. Right. Let's say them as standards. Right. अब जैसे ही मैं बोलूँ that, let's say that leader, right. Prime Minister Modi ji is a good leader, right. और आप इसको सोशल मीडिया पे वोटिंग करवा लीजिए, right. So some people will, let's say that voting goes in favor. Suppose if voting goes in favor, let's say that 60% people say yes, some people say no, 10% they cannot say anything. Right. So what you get is that at least they will have some basis to say. They will also have some basis to say. Right. So they will have some basis to say this, let's say that their basis will be different, their basis will be different. Right. Their basis will be different and their basis will be different. Right. It means, can we accept when majority people give their basis? Right. So when majority people agree on something, then can we say it is good? Not necessarily. Because majority people may not always be right. Right. Majority people can also be wrong, defection. Right. So this is how, let's say that majority people may not always be right. It means even if majority people support, but still it is not conforming to some standards. It means there are some other standards. Right. And if some minority of people are saying that they are already in minority, right? So the question is, what is that basis on which we can say that any person as good? This starts with, let's say that this, take this behavior starts with, individual, family, society, country, and finally it goes to what? So our behavior is also analyzed at world level. That's why European Union people have come, some people, isn't it? So behavior is also scrutinized at world level. Behavior is scrutinized at country level, right? Society level, family level, and individual level. So basically you are doing nothing but all that behavior. What you are saying, either it is right or wrong. So everywhere we are trying to scrutinize the behavior of people as right and wrong. Now let's come. We think, let's take another example. I will not tell academic example or definition at first. I will explain it, then I will tell you all those things. Because understanding is more important. A person who smokes cigarette, right? Any person who smokes cigarette, generally society consider him bad? No. Smoking is injurious to health. Right. So you think that no, he is a bad person. On what basis? Right. So you are a non-smoker, right? But the logic you tell me that it is about health. It is injurious to health. आप उससे पूछ के देखो. Right. Yes. You will establish a standard. Yes. So become part of that group. Right. Try to understand. But it is not necessary, try to understand. A person who smokes may be good in health, and a person who is a teetotaler, he may be bad in health. This you have to understand. The logic you are applying is not a very good logic, objective logic. Right. Let me give a personal example. So my father was teetotaler. He died early. But my elder father was, let's say that he used to smoke a lot. He died 20 years almost later. Right. So you have to understand this. The person who is smoking, his genetic makeup can be different. Right. So smoking is not necessarily injurious. Right. His expectancy, life expectancy even can be more than any other person. Right. First, second, some people, those who smoke, they may be taking other precautions to keep their health better. It can also be there. Right. So when you say it, that smoking, yes, in general it is considered since it is injurious to health. In general. But again, let's say that you have to apply some more critical thinking to scrutinize the behavior. So this general thinking is on the basis of social perception in the society. The social perception in the society is that smoking and drinking both are not considered part of good behavior. Right. This is not considered. because of social culture. Plus, certain science we have also applied in it, especially when you say that there are studies which say that there is injurious, it is injurious to health. So some science you have also applied. Still, one aspect of critical thinking is lacking, that it is not necessarily injurious to everyone. Right. Therefore, different people can give you some different logics on that. Right. What I am trying to say is that the basis on which we say something, the basis will differ person to person, society to society, right, family to family. Like, even let's come to this individual behavior, how to prepare for this civil services. So there are many strategies, strategy sessions, different things are told. Now, some say that write in points, so that you should not qualify. So, this is how it is. So, some will say that write in points. Now, points means what? You should write introduction also 1 point, body part 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, conclusion also 11 point. Points means what? So, whether you should follow, some people qualified by writing points. Then therefore, this is how the market is, you write also in points. But suppose you are not habituated to write in points, you can write better in paragraph. So why you are not writing? Some people cannot write in paragraph, you should know that. But some people can write very better in paragraph, because this is their orientation. So basically, let's say that there is no one way to qualify, there is no one right way. Right. So there is no one right way. Therefore, you do not have any established standard in civil services to qualify. You have standards, but you do not have established standards. Right. Similarly, let's say that society, how a child should be educated. Right. How a child should be educated. The daily tension is there in our family, neighbors, etc., isn't it? So there is a competition to send child in Doni school. Right. So this is how it is. So there are competitions. Some people think that we should go send child to residential schools. Right. And some people think no, if you send in residential school, bachcha bigad jata hai. Sorry to say that. This is language you can understand. Right. If you send to those schools, so child will be away from family. The child will have emotional problem. Some people think no, see my child has no emotional problem. Right. So do you have any consensus agreement on how a child should be taught? So you do not have any consensus. Some people think that kabhi bachcha hai, let him be free till 8th standard. We should start focusing from 9th standard. Right. Some people think by the time his chance is gone. Right. So you will find that there are different thinkings in the society. What is the right way to teach a child? Right. And that's why you will have different approach by families. Right. Some family think, let's say that he should not. Some family know that they think that the child should be kept always busy with. No, तो जैसे ही स्कूल से आता है, then after lunch etc. child is sent for French class, Spanish class, music class, dance class, mathematics class, right? Then 1 hour is fixed for his TV class etc. isn't it? And then finally sleeping time. So this you'll find that different approach people have in case of. Then similarly family. Of some family will train you to eat only with his spoons, not with hand. It is not etiquette. Right. So, and some family will say कि हाथ से नहीं खाया तो क्या खाया? Sorry to say that things, right. So basically for some family it is a matter of etiquette. So you should take like this, isn't it? तो भले आप non-veg खा रहे हो लेकिन वो निकल नहीं रहा है, isn't it? Right. But you have to show etiquette, right? So, because it is a matter of etiquette, right? So you have differences in family, let's say that. They think that if my child maintains certain etiquettes, they emphasize on every word is spoken, whether it is properly pronounced, etc., measured, calculated, disciplined every time. This, so they think that it is the standard. There is a different family does not believe in standard at all. Right. So it does not believe in, it believes in free. Let's live free. So basically what we are trying to say is that there are many standards of behavior in our society, and those standards are good standards, but they are not established standards. These all practices are good. Some people are teaching etiquette, it is good. Some people believe we should live free, it is also good. Neither of them are bad. This you should know. So neither of them can be considered bad, but neither of them can also be considered ethical. Right. If one starts saying, no, I am superior to you, etc., so yes, it can be relative concept, but neither is ethical. Why? Because all these practices are based on your societal standards, family standards, rather than established standards. So these are not necessarily established standards on the basis of which we say Mr. X conduct as the X conduct as right or wrong. What we are saying is on the basis of social practices. The social norm in our society is basically so our society's social norm is wearing cloth properly, covering body, right? But this may not be a social norm in Western society. So for you it can be vulgar, but for them it is good. They have a different standards of decency and vulgarity, which we may not understand. Right? Which we may not understand. So, for instance, sorry to give these examples, although it is just first class, but let's say that act of kissing in their society, right? People appreciate, right? In marriage, after marriage ceremony, they kiss, the couple kiss, right? And other people appreciate. And if you do the same thing in our society, right, what parents will say? Parents will feel humiliated. Right, हमने यही पढ़ाया था इसको. Right. So it will be a matter of, let's say that, feeling of humiliation, because it is not as per the social conformity. The social conformity is different, let's say that. So many a time we are behaving as per social conformity. Right. Social conformity. Many a time you agree with your parents because of conformity and respect, not necessarily because they are right. And ours is a society where it does not believe in talking to the parents very objectively and logicking with them. Rather, it propagates the philosophy you respect and don't speak before them. Isn't it? It is a society which says, you should not speak your mind. If you speak your mind, you take decision independently. So what they will say? Right. अपना वाला कर रहा है वो. नहीं, he has grown up now. Right. He is not respecting. So if you take a decision of marriage, then you tell to them. So many parents will become angry. Right. What they will say, when you have already decided, then why are you saying? Right. They will not appreciate good decision. So these are all social. You know that there are different norms of behavior we follow. Those norms are good norms. I will not say that, we should not say they are bad necessarily. we as a human being behave on the basis of different norms in the society. It can be this social norm that we wrote, it can be religion because we follow religion. So different religion teaches different thing. So let's say that you vegetarian non-vegetarian debate very serious in our society, right? तो वेजिटेरियन वाला समझता है कि नॉन वेज इज लाइक दिस एंड नॉन वेज समझता है वेजिटेरियन क्या घास फूस खा रहे हो यार, सॉरी टू से दिस लैंग्वेज बट एनी हाउ. सो अगर किसी रिसेप्शन में आपको नॉन वेज नहीं मिलता है नॉन वेज वाले को तो क्या होता है, राइट? ही डज नॉट फील सेटिस्फाइड, isn't it? But let's say religion. The religion plays another important role, and how you will see lots of conflicts happen on the basis of religion in case of Sabrimala issue. So on Sabrimala issue, you can find that how religion comes into play and how there is a conflict between the constitutional morality that is called established standard of morality and social morality. The social morality is that women should not go to the sanctum etc. because of concept of this is how you have pure and impure. So this similarly social norm you told law. The law is also a basis for, the law in our country is different, law in their country is different. For instance, let's say traffic rules, motor vehicle act. So motor vehicle act for us, it is right because it is Indian situation. यहाँ कोई मानता नहीं है traffic rule. So you should have heavy penalty, right? But if you take from Western society, it is not ethical. Western society believes in proper regulation and they can regulate the conduct because they have those all, let's say that institutional arrangements that they can regulate. But our society, you don't have institutional arrangement. So what you do is that heavy penalty. So law, even you are justifying as per the situation. It is a justified law or per situation. You will find that even if you give 5,000 penalty, still the person will violate traffic. So these kind of practice you have. So even law may not necessarily be universal. The law can have also certain relative aspect, and laws will differ society to society. Like say sedition law we have, a country may not have sedition law. Official secret we have, Canada may not have official secret act. So this is how let's say that even law will also be relative. Law will not still also be universal in some cases. Even if law is the basis to say Mr. X conduct in the context of traffic violation, if you judge his conduct, so that is how it can be right or wrong, but it is relative. Similarly, our own values, this will differ person to person. Similarly, our own understanding, which again differs, let's say that how to solve the slowdown in the economy. So you will know that Raghuram Rajan is a good economist, etc., but he was a failure. Some people will say no, he is a success. Right. So you will find that even economists will not agree on how to solve the problems of economy. So what we learn by this? By this we learn one thing, that human conduct, human behavior, right, is considered right or wrong on many different bases. And those bases can be largely, you can club like this, but these bases still may not be ethical. Right. To be ethical, the basis should be established standards. Established standards means if X conduct is based on established standards, so that can be considered ethical, although it can also be moral, social, what, blah, blah things. But if X conduct is not based on established standards, it can be social, it can be religious, it can be lawful, but it cannot be ethical. Then the question comes, after all, then what is that established standard? Right. So established standards have been set by moral philosophy. Right. That is, we told normative ethics. So established standards have been set by moral philosophy, Right, and moral principles are the established standards. One moral principle we told is called selflessness. So what was lacking in his conduct, that civil service aspirant, he was not trying to be selfless. Right. He is messing up with, let's say, self-interest, right, and analyzing the behavior. So, selflessness is one such established standard which has been, let's say, told from Upanishad, Mahabharata, Gita, etc. to Vivekananda to, let's say, Mahatma Gandhi here, and from Socrates, Aristotle, Plato, etc. to, let's say, modern, you can talk about Immanuel Kant. So, most of the philosophers will agree on one value called selflessness. It is an established standard. Right. What is established standard? Right. So when you judge anyone's conduct, so you should take yourself out of that, and then you should judge logically that whether the behavior is right or wrong. So your interest, you have to take it out. Right. That is Kantian philosophy. There is no any one established standard. You should know this. So I will dictate all these things. I will tell it. First, you understand. So there is no any one established. Don't think that there are something I should know and then there is established standard. No. Established standard is act in such a fashion that your action is end in itself rather than you create means to achieve some ends. And most of our conducts are means to achieve some ends. Isn't it? So are we ethical? Act in such a fashion that your action becomes universal. That all other people in the same situation will act in the same fashion. One essay topic came. So, your own interest should not be the interest of society. Your interest should also be in the interest of society. So, when you are acting, so whether it is serving the interest of the society or it is disserving, that is also one ethical standard. So, there are different, let's say, established standards where you have to apply and judge, and then you can say that this conduct can be considered as ethical. And your behavior should conform to those aspects. Generally established standards are considered universal standards. Universal standards which have been set on the basis of logic and reasoning and rationality, rather than law, religion, social values, etc., etc. Although they have been derived from them. Basically, ethics will be derived from them, or they are derived from ethics, both way. Right. But ethics is not synonymous. So ethics will not be synonymous. So ethical standards or established standards are generally considered universal principles of ethics, universal values, or universal standards of behavior, and these things are set by largely normative ethics led by Aristotle, Greek philosophy, Western philosophy. Within Western philosophy, we have, let's say, deontology philosophy, teleology philosophy. Within teleology philosophy, we have utilitarian philosophy, contractarian philosophy. Within contractarian, we have modern contractarian philosophy and contemporary contractarian philosophy. Contemporary contractarian philosophy is called theory of justice, John Rawls. Right, which I will tell all these details. Just I am giving an idea what are those people who have given, or what are those philosophical approach which talk about established standards. Now, human behavior should conform to those established standards. They will not conform to your standards. That's why I told that whether you like it or not, it does not matter. The established standards are standards, and to be ethical, you have to conform to that. Right, this. Now, for instance, even if in Jammu and Kashmir, we have the pressing concerns for unity and integrity, but for long you cannot sustain curtailing their liberty and freedom. This you know. So, why? So, this is how again established standard. The state should not go for such level of prolonged censorship of the rights of people. The state is under moral pressure that can bring normalcy. So, state will be under immense moral pressure. You can imagine ki how much moral pressure they are. They are talking, bringing a delegation against our principle that ki we say that ki no, Kashmir is an internal matter. Right. But then, although I will not teach IR, but just take the leaf of that. So the question is that you know ki state is how much under moral pressure to show that ki no, situation is normal. We are ensuring them their fundamental rights. Because established standard is that state should ensure liberty and freedom to people. Right. So this you can understand, and that is how, let's say, that these established standards. First, now, how the established standard came, when they came in one go, etc., whether they can be changed. Basically, it is evolved. The standards of ethics have evolved. Because when society came into existence, we did not have such standards. That is how it has been evolved, and basically we wrote here Socrates, we link from that Greek philosophy, and we link in Indian religious philosophy from Vedas, Upanishads, etc. This is how we try to trace from. And then society has further grown, but you should know that there was one, let's say that stage of society, ancient society, medieval society, basically it is a decline in certain values and standard, and it drifts towards religious values. Then the modern society comes with certain liberal values. And modern societies, this is all the thinkers belonging to utilitarian philosophy, contractarian philosophy, or Kantian philosophy. They are all the modern thinkers who started questioning and analyzing questioning the role of the state, questioning the role of monarchy, and in analyzing human nature. So they have analyzed human nature, that is called human behavior. So we wrote psychological understanding. Even Hobbes tried to understand the human nature, utilitarian tries to understand the human nature, and Kant also tries to understand the human nature. Even Aristotle tried to understand the human nature, and when Aristotle says human is social, political animal, so when he says human is a social animal, you may have heard. When he says human is a political animal, that also you may have heard, but you may not have heard he said human is also ethical animal. Why? So you have a tendency in you to continuously move towards doing good and avoiding evil. Do we do that? Basically, are you not trying continuously to maintain your good health? You are trying. You are not trying to not harm other people. You are trying. Right. So basically, human has this tendency, right? It is the human nature to avoid evils and do good. This is human nature. This is how they have analyzed. So this analysis comes. Then these, let's say, philosophy have set certain standards. Thereafter, now we, contemporary people, right. So now contemporary people, we are, after the post, let's say that this theories, how we follow and how we set new standards. So old established standards are standards. They can be rejected also, you can set new standards. So have we set any new standards of behavior in contemporary times? Can you tell any new standard of behavior? No. No any new standard of behavior. So we have given LGBT rights also. We have given them right. We have just recently given. But case started in 2009. It took almost 10 years for society in transition to make a mind that we can give them right. No, the first High Court gave, Delhi High Court, let's say, decriminalized. Then Supreme Court quashed the judgment. Then in 2016 they, let's say that simply they changed their judgment. So it took almost, let's say that 10 years if you take, or 8-9 years. And that is a transition. Another value that you have in the society, your value is that you are assertive. No, you are assertive. You tell to your parents that, let me decide. No, I respect you, but let me decide. This is how to say. So you respect, but you will decide. You will take decision. So you respect them. The respect is the old one, but assertiveness is new one. And parents also, they have changed also. The parents have also changed. Right? They respect your decision, but not all parents. So this is a change, let's say that, in standard. You have become more assertive in your life. Right? And you speak your mind more freely. At the same time, you are respectful. Right? This. So that is how there is a new standard. So society, can we say that the present generation has become less value oriented? Will you agree? No. But why there is a general perception? Right. General perception is that values are declining. Right. So why there is this general perception? Even our mythology also talks in this way, no? That is Kaljug and Satyug. No. This. So this also says that decline in value. So what does it mean? So you will not agree. Why you will not agree? Right. So the question is that you have become more assertive, you have become more ambitious, you have become also more liberal, you have also become more experimental. Isn't it? Parents may join a job, they can continue entire life. But you will not. No, you will frequently change the job because you want to experiment. Right. This they may not like because they joined one job, entire life they continued and they right. So what we come to know that ethics, I guess now you'll understand what is ethics. So basically ethics deals with human conduct and behavior first. And it deals with human conduct, behavior, right and wrong aspects. Second. Third, it tries to scrutinize the right and wrong on the basis of established standards. Fourth, it itself sets the established standards. Right. And it can also bring change in established standard. Right. So it is a field of normative science. It becomes a subject. The way you have philosophy as a subject, political science as a subject, ethics is also a subject. Because it deals with all these things. That's why theories, principles we have developed. And its main aim is not to just scrutinize human conduct on the basis of established standards. Right. Rather, its main aim is to achieve the chief good in your behavior, of your behavior. Means it wants that humans should continuously endeavor towards good, better, best behavior. So humans should not be satisfied with only average behavior or good behavior. Humans should become ultimately a virtuous person. And that is the chief good. That virtuosity can be judged in terms of enlightened person in our society, nirvana in our society, and in Aristotle term, wisdom. and in Kant term moral autonomy. If you achieve moral autonomy, then you have the highest level of development, right? Human has. So that is how the aim of this ethics is not merely to scrutinize and know, but also to achieve the chief good, that is called the summum bonum in the French language, that to achieve the chief good, and human continuously tries to do that. And that's why you are also trying to improve your behavior, and many things you have learned, you have improved. And by the time, let's say that you become further, let's say 20 years hence again, they will say that you will achieve more level of perfection. Right. So that is how ethics is. That is how ethics is defined. Right. So let's write on this now. I guess you understand. If you have any question, you can ask. Right. So ethics deals with human character and conduct. Human character and conduct. Especially about the quality of behavior. Quality of behavior. Quality of behavior. Right. On the basis of established standards. Established standards. Established standards. The term, change in paragraph, the term ethics has been derived from. The term ethics has been derived from the Greek word ethikos. The Greek word ethikos. Ethikos, which means arising out of habits. Arising out of habits. That when human behaves and there is a recurring of behavior, a habit is formed. A habit is formed. This habit becomes character. This habit becomes character over a period of time. Over a period of time. And it is this character which determines quality of human behavior. Quality of human behavior. Which determines quality of human behavior. Change the paragraph. Therefore, it is said that ethics deals with human character and conduct. Human character or conduct, or quality of behavior. Quality of behavior. In quality of behavior, it is concerned with first, right and wrong aspects of behavior. Right and wrong aspects of behavior. Second, scrutinizing the right and wrong. Scrutinizing the right and wrong on the basis of established standards. Established standards. Next, it itself sets established standards. it itself sets established standards. Established standards. In bracket you can write the field of normative science. The field of normative science. Bracket close. Next point. It is not only concerned with it is not only concerned with scrutiny of behavior, but rather its ultimate aim is to achieve summum bonum, or the chief good. The chief good in human behavior. The chief good in human behavior. That is the highest standards of human behavior. The highest standards of human behavior. Next, the human behavior can be categorized as good, better, best, good, better, best. So human behavior can be categorized as good, better, best. This is how ethics, ultimate aim. So ethics, ultimate aim, good, better, best. Hence, change the paragraph. Hence, ethics can be defined as a field of normative science, which deals with human behavior oblique character and conduct with an aim to achieve summum bonum. It can be alternatively defined in different ways. It can be alternatively also defined. First, it deals with standards of human conduct. On the basis of universal principles. Next, evaluation of human conduct on the basis of moral principles. Is considered ethics. Next, ethics deals with moral philosophy. Right. Next, ethics is about do not do unto others as you won't be done by. Unto others as you won't be done by. in bracket Mahabharata. Mahabharata. Why we are telling many ways? So that you should not be bookish. You can write yourself. You should know it can be defined in many ways. Right. So last one we have told about Mahabharata definition. So if you read values in administration, it is given that it says, do not do unto others as you won't be done by. Right. What does it mean? I think meaning is clear. So whenever you have doubt whether your conduct is ethical or not, read this statement. It will make your conduct clear. This you should know. It is also universal. So you should not behave with any other persons, right, the same way you would not like to be behaved with. If you abuse someone, so you should know that you should also be abused. If you lie someone, so you know you should also be lied. Right. If you become arrogant on someone, so you should also be on, some people will also become arrogant. If you become hostile to some other people will also become hostile. Right. This, or in a very simple way, it deals with moral philosophy. It deals with moral philosophy. Moral philosophy is nothing but universal standards. Universal standards of behavior. Right. This, so this is how standards of behavior. Right. So let's write one note, N-O-T, note. Right. Any human conduct cannot be considered as ethical. Although human conduct can be considered good, as per different standards of society. As per different standards of society. Standards of society. For instance, you can write this. For instance, law, religion, values. Law, religion, values. Social morality, social norms, family values, etc. Changing paragraph. Since people in day-to-day life are doing nothing, but behaving. Right. That is called, there is human interface. One human is behaving with other humans. And hence, the behavior is always under scrutiny. Always under scrutiny that whether it is right or wrong. In day-to-day basis, the behavior is not necessarily scrutinized. As per established ethical standards, as people may not be aware of. or even if they are aware, it may not necessarily be needed. It may not necessarily be needed in every human conduct. Every human conduct. Hence, people have good conduct as per religious standards, social standards, etc. etc. However, social standards, etc. However, to say any conduct as ethical, it must necessarily conform to established standards. Established standards, even if one may not like them. Even if one may not like them. No. A judge cannot help himself. Don't write it. A judge cannot, let's say, help himself because he has to be bound by law of the land, rule of law. Even if he is unwilling, but he has to give judgment. This is how. Even if you may not like it, but you have to conform to those established standards. Right. Let's write. The established standards are considered. The established standards are considered the highest standards of conduct. The highest standards of conduct. Hence, they are universal in nature. Hence, they are universal in nature. Some important universal standards are You can write a subheading, universal standards. A subheading, universal standards. Universal standards. First, selflessness. Selflessness. Second, truthfulness. Truthfulness. Second, next, third, compassion. Compassion. Next, peacefulness. Peacefulness. Next, non-violent. Non-violent. Next, forgiveness. 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 Next, responsibility. Responsibility. Gratitude and humbleness. Gratitude and humbleness. So, these things can be considered some universal values, truthfulness, etc. So, you'll find that the truth, Satyamev Jayate. So, Satyamev Jayate is written on any government document. Although there is Jayate, no Satyamev. So, the question you'll find that every government document, the Constitution of India also begins with Satyamev Jayate. What does it mean? Truth alone triumphs. Right. And how it has been derived from? So, Upanishad. Right. So, truth is one such important. People in Jammu and Kashmir have come for truth. Isn't it? They have come to know truth. What is the truth? Right. So, wisdom finds truth. Right. So people did not have wisdom to find truth, to write that essay. This year if you see, have you read that topic? What to read in that topic? 3 terms are given only. Yes.
Pura section 1 was
Ethical philosophy. Right. Essay ka section है. Right. So wisdom find truths. This is how truth they have given topic. I say people do not have wisdom to find truth. So while they will write, how they will write that essay. So you can see how philosophy you have to write. Right. Entirely philosophy. Philosophy is, sorry to say that, but it is a boneless topic. Ethics paper is boneless. Sorry to say that. It means it is spineless. You have to give it a spine. Right. Because structure is not given. Right. If neighbors, let's say, if you take second section, then you have some structuring. You have to write some introduction, you have to write some ancient past, isn't it? Then you write Indian foreign policy, etc., etc. So you get some structuring. Wisdom finds truth. What is the structure? So, same thing happens in ethics paper, let's say that. So that is how it is, let's say, difficulty, but that we are not talking. We are talking some universal values, right? That what are those established standards? This is how you will find that these universal values, we have told selflessness. All major philosophy will base their principle, that is called golden principle, is selflessness. Vivekananda says that selflessness should be the main aim of life. Whether you agree or not. Right. So he says selflessness should be the main aim of life. Right. All religions teach you selflessness or selfishness. Right. All religion teach you selflessness. Right. Hinduism says that the last end of life is everything you tyag kar do, isn't it? So give up everything. Right. But we secure 7 generations of life. Our society. Anyhow, so these are established standards. Let's write that. What are the established standards? Are knowing established standards. What are established standards? This is a subheading. What are established standards? Established standards. Right. Can they be changed? Can they be rejected and changed? Changed. Right. Established standards are the philosophical standards, moral and ethical principles, which have been set by the field of normative ethics, that is theories of ethics, on the basis of critical thinking, reasoning and rational thinking. They can be rejected by new logics and reasoning. And new standards can also be set. New standards. For instance, some new standards are first, being assertive but respectful to parents. parents. Being liberal and rational, but still respecting social norms, social norms, social norms. Transparency in governance, transparency in governance, in place of secrecy, in place of secrecy. Right. Change in paragraph. The established ethical standards have evolved since ancient time, and these standards are based on different approaches of the field of normative ethics. In brief, they are as follows. Contractarian. Contractarian. Let's take that. Okay. Applied I will write after some time. So basically this normative ethics, which we say theories of ethics, this is the core philosophy. And this is how the bare minimum that we have to know in this paper. If you read any books in the market, they make it very complex by writing more philosophy, less ethics. And you don't have to know them. If you see the analysis of last 7 years paper, beyond that they have not asked questions. If you take as per ethical standards, Kant has been asked 2 times. Utilitarian has been asked once. Aristotle has been asked once. Now this time they have asked Socrates, let's say that, from Greek philosophy. So this, if you talk in terms of philosophical, John Rawls they have asked once. So if you take the philosophical questions, they have not gone beyond this. As far as leaders are concerned, Abraham Lincoln repeated 2 times. Right, so they are the leaders, they are not philosophers. There is a difference between leaders and philosophers. A philosopher is the one who explains human nature, human character and conduct. Then he gives his philosophy, moral principle. Because ethics deals with human behavior. So the core aspect of any leader is analysis of human behavior. But Mahatma Gandhi is a more leader-less philosopher. He does not analyze human nature. Right. So those who have not analyzed human nature, they are not philosophers. Although you can count them. But those who have analyzed human nature, that's why we say means human behavior, that is how we tell them, treat them as philosopher. And the questions have not gone beyond that. Right. Be it case study, theory questions, that's why you don't have to know more than that. Rather you know them and have the high level of clarity, high level of application. And therefore you don't get carried away by the books writing n number of things which are not necessary. This is one. Basically we have 2 types of theory. How you should scrutinize human action, means how you should judge human behavior. Whether you should judge human behavior on the basis of human character or you should judge behavior on the basis of human action. Because many a time human action may not necessarily be telling the human character. This. So Greek philosophers focus on human character. They think that if you build good characters, action will necessarily be good. Right. And that's why we say them as agent theory. Basically, normative theories are nothing but agent and action theories. So they will go and building human character. That's why they have focused their philosophy about human and building good character, which will tell how. Now, they think that no, we should scrutinize the human action rather than human character. Although there is a less, let's say, demarcation of line between character and action, but they will think that human action should be, let's say that, scrutinized. And that is how they have given on the basis of scrutiny of human action. This is deontology. Means human action should conform to means, right means. And when human action conform to right means, so there will be right end. Or means are more important than ends. That is how deontology in rough way, in general way. Although it is not necessarily linked to means, but to understand it. Because deonto means. Teleo. So teleo is something at distance. Right. So that is called teleology. That is called ends oriented. And when human action end is right, so human action is right. End is well, always well. This is how we say. Right. The human action, let's say that. So teleology, there are more philosophers on teleology, less on deontology. Right. But Kant has support of even our Gita. The Gita, Kant has support. Mahabharata, Kant has support. Right. The Kant has support of many philosophers. And they are very strong philosophers. Anyhow, so teleology, you will find that all these people are deriving on teleology. That is called end, that is called consequence. The when human action consequence is right, it is considered as a right conduct. And they say that when human action means itself is right, then it is considered as ethical conduct. So when you think what are the established standards, these are established standards. They are giving that human character should be basis to judge human behavior. So many a time human has good character, to say you have trust in that. Why you have trust in a person? So you trust in a person on the basis of his character. Great. This now. In teleology, there are different schools, and let's say that utilitarian. So Bentham and Mill, they are the two popular thinkers, and they talk utilitarian philosophy. Already you know that it is a very general philosophy. Utilitarian philosophy is any human action which maximizes your utility is good human action. That is utility. Utility and utility from utilitarian. The utilitarian is from utility of a human behavior. Right. That is called self-interest. They have given as a golden rule for your behavior because self-interest maximizes your utility. Right. So this, which you know, don't have to explain. Contractarian will tell that I was giving example of Modi ji. Right. So contractarian. You know contract? There is a social contract. There is a moral contract. There is a legal contract. Right. The different types of contracts we have in our society. Marriage is also a contract in some religion. But marriage is an institution in Hinduism. Which institution we do not know, but marriage is an institution. Right. So we treat it as an institution, but marriage is also a contract. Moral contract. The day moral contract is lost, marriage is lost. Isn't it? Even if let's say that you can have institution you treated, but when there is a between the two person, when the moral contract is lost, you don't have trust in each other, the marriage is lost. So when people, 60% people give vote in favor of Modi ji as a good leader, it is a kind of social contract. Right, this. And people have consensus. So this is called contractarian. And contractarian comes, this is how people have the social contract, and that's how they decided to be governed by the state. The state came into existence on the basis of social contract. But why people decided that they should have a state? Because people cannot govern themselves. This is the analysis of human behavior. So their analysis of human behavior, especially modern contractarians, their analysis of human behavior is in the context of state and people. And therefore, when you have to judge human behavior in the context of state and people, so they can help to some extent. So state has a contract. So why people in Jammu and Kashmir cannot be denied the rights? Because there is a social contract. The state has the social contract. This is how. And that is how you will find it. It can take. There are different philosophy they will say. But let me tell contract in general. Contract in general means if you join any job, there is a contract. If you join civil service, there is a contract. You are bound by that contract. Right. So the contract become basis for your ethical conduct. So when you join as a civil servant, also you sign a contract with the government of India. Right. And therefore you are entitled to adhere the all civil service standards. Right. This. So contract can be applied in different context, but modern contract and contemporary contract, there is a difference. Therefore, let's say that they were social contract, they were talking in the context of a state. Theory of justice also talks in the context of a state, but it takes in a more positive way. Right, from negative way to positive way. Right. So this is a negative theory basically, Thomas Hobbes, although Rousseau gave it positive character. But theory of justice says that in context of a state behavior can be considered ethical only when a state promotes justice. The justice is core, let's say, value for the state to judge the conduct of the state. And if a state behaves which does not promote justice, so this is how, let's say that the state fails to behave with certain moral standards, and they have given two principles of justice. One is called equal principle. Every citizen has entitled, or every citizen is entitled for liberty, equality and freedom. And second is, they say, differential principle. Right, that is called social justice. So what we understand that they have set different standards of behavior. So when we are looking for different standards of behavior, so there are different philosophies which we talk about different standards. Does it mean that there is no one standard? Yes, there is no one standard. Does it mean that there is no clarity on standards? So no, that it does not mean. Then does it mean that we should follow all standards? Yes, so it is not also. According to situation you have to take. So different situations can apply different thing, but at the same time we can also apply some other situations, means multiple theories can also be applied. So we can judge that which theory is better. Right. Among them, he is a very lofty thinker and he stands apart. Why he stands apart? Because he sets a very highest standard of ethics. Right. That act in such a fashion that your action becomes universal, and act in such a fashion that your action is end in itself rather than means to achieve end. And right, he says that your mind should not even think something wrong about any person. Right. Even if you think in your mind something wrong, then you become unethical. Even if you do not behave. Right. And Jahangir Homi Bhabha has added one philosophy. Everyone is a violent person. Because in mind, people have murdered millions of people. This is how we should know that. So, there are some highest standards of ethics, you will find that. This you will save. And basically, let's say that once you will learn them, so basically your understanding on ethics will improve. Right. There is no any one standard. There are set of standards which we can apply in different situations. In some situation, your behavior will be scrutinized on the basis of means, and in some situation, your behavior will be decided on the basis of ends. In some situation, on the both aspect. But highest standard of human behavior is selflessness. Why? If you behave as per end, so your interest is associated. And the day your behavior is associated with your own interest, you cannot be selfless. Right. And when you cannot be selfless, you cannot be rational. Right? This. And that's why, let's say that, we say truth, and for adherence of truth, one can even give life. But people can also lie. Right. This. So, you know that Raghukul Riti Sada Chale Aaye and Pran Jai Par Vachan Na Jaye. What does it mean? Adherence to truth, even at the cost of life. This is the ethical standard. So, this people have. So, I guess you will understand all these things. So, few lines I can finish, conclude. Tomorrow we will conclude it, explain it, but few lines more you can write this. Right. These theories have evolved. These theories have evolved from Greek times. From Greek times. And they have gone into analyzing human nature. Analyzing human nature. Human nature and human behavior. And they have set different standards. Different standards. As they see human nature. They see human nature from different perspective. Different perspective. Broadly, there are three perspectives. Perspective. Selflessness. First, selflessness, followed by Kant. Followed by Kant. Second, self-interest. Self-interest or end-oriented or ends-oriented. Self-interest or ends-oriented. Followed by utilitarian. Utilitarian and Greek philosophy. Greek philosophy. Next, selfishness. Next, selfishness. Followed by Thomas Hobbes. Thomas Hobbes. Right, so we'll finish here. We'll further explain tomorrow. Hope you may have understood what we have told, although it is the first class. But I guess you may have understood what ethics is. And tomorrow we'll try to further relate this ethics with, further relating with religion, law, social norms, values and morality. That will further enhance your understanding. And for your understanding more, you can read the printed notes. So enjoy your life. We'll take